What's up, guys? It has been a month since I've had this thing in my possession. This is the 2018 15-inch GTX 1070 Razer Blade. You guys have questions and I'm here to answer them. This is 10 burning questions about this laptop. Need a new home for your system? Check out the new Razer Saber. An interchangeable front panel lets you choose between airflow or all show, while the spacious interior layout gives maximum flexibility and the option to mount a radiator on the back wall so you can show off your lighting. The top-mounted I/O features a convenient and easy way to change up the coloring on the vibrant RGB strips that span the entire exterior, and the PSU shroud and included lighting and fan control hub keep you in command. Check out the Saber, the link below. So in the review video, I asked you guys to leave down in the comments your questions for me regarding this machine, and I would do my best to answer them. There are some things that I definitely do not want to get into in this video, things that people ask me that it wouldn't really be practical for me to talk about. These things include, like, can you please test this game at this resolution with these settings? It's just not applicable for a broad field of people. And plus, that's extraordinarily time consuming if I were to go in and test every game that everybody asked me to test. It's not really practical. I couldn't really do that. I'm sorry. If you have questions, hopefully there's somebody out there on the internet that has done those tests that you can maybe search for. Also, I had a lot of people ask me to disassemble the blade and repaste it with liquid metal or other thermal paste. And I don't really feel the need to do that. Yes, it runs a little warm, but I haven't experienced any throttling at all. And I mean, maybe that'll work better for your use case, but this is not a laptop that I'm using all the time for like video production or heavy gaming or anything like that. So I don't really need to do that. So sorry, I'm not going to be able to address those questions on how that works or if that works to reduce temperatures. And the last thing I got a couple people asking me about was to do a comparison between the GTX 1060 and GTX 1070 versions of this laptop, and that I'm not going to be able to do that. I'm not going to buy a GTX 1060 version of this laptop just to do that comparison. But I just did review the Gigabyte Aero 15 on Monday, and that laptop has the same processor with a GTX 1060, so and 16 gigs of RAM, same memory configuration as well. So you could pretty much port those results over to the GTX 1060 version of this machine if you're looking for an approximation of performance. All right, so I got the rest of the questions here on my phone so I do not forget them. And number one, please do a normal battery test for everyday use. And this was a question that a lot of people asked. In my initial review video, the way I evaluate laptops and how I directly compare battery life is to put them through a torture test, because I can repeat the torture test. And it's just running Unigine Heaven on full brightness for the screen until the battery dies. So I understand that people want to know, well, what's this like for regular use? Because that's not a regular use case. And in my experience, I got between 4.5 and 5 hours on a charge. I've never fully killed this battery, but I mean, I've gotten pretty low, and we're in the 4.5 to 5 hour range generally. Usually the times that I completely drain a battery to the point of the laptop shutting off is when I'm traveling and I'm doing work on a plane or somewhere where I can't plug in for some reason. That's when I tend to be able to put an exact number on, okay, this is the amount of use that I got out of this thing. But yeah, 4.5 to 5 hours for a regular day, I think would be about right. Number two, how do you feel about the build quality for the long term? Some questions about QA, and I've had some problems with previous blades. I haven't personally experienced any of these issues that some people say they've had with Razer blades. Razer's a big company, they sell a lot of products. I'm sure some of them fail, and that's just the nature of consumer electronics. So I'm not saying that anybody is lying when they say they've had a failure. However, it hasn't applied to me, so it's hard for me to talk about. This machine, oh, went to sleep apparently. This machine feels like it's built like a tank. It's all metal. It's got a unibody structure of aluminum. It's heavy without being bulky. It feels like it's well built, and I haven't had any concerns about the QA process with Razer, and it was the same with my 2016 blade. I didn't have any problems there either. So I think that in my experience, everything's been fine. I mean, your experience may vary, I guess, but you know, I can't really speak intelligently to that point, unfortunately. It feels good to me. Number 3, can you get a laptop cooling pad / would you consider one / or you should definitely get one, or you need one with this laptop? So let me go on the record and say that I'm not explicitly against laptop cooling pads. However, I don't personally own or use any. I think that the purpose of a laptop is to be portable. I don't want to have to worry about having this on some kind of a cooling device in order to make it function properly, or you know, drop the temperature by a couple degrees Celsius. I'm not going to get a cooling pad. I'm not going to test this with a cooling pad. At that point, I feel like I'm testing the cooling pad and not necessarily the laptop. I kind of want the laptop to stand on its own. And as a result, I'm going to show you the thermal results from the laptop as it is. If that's what you want to do with this laptop, if you want to get a cooling pad, if you feel like you need one, then by all means, but I am not going to get one and or test one. Number 4, did you fix the issue with Doom and the horrible CPU frame time spikes? One thing that I'll mention was that I was seeing some crazy CPU frame time spikes in Doom, making the gameplay very choppy. I did, in fact, and I want to thank a couple people in the comments section of the original review video that pointed this out to me. Apparently Doom has some kind of weird conflict with the Razer Chroma software, which is what runs all these pretty lights, and disabling Chroma actually makes that issue completely disappear. So it was pretty simple, but I mean, I was kind of pulling my hair out trying to figure out what the problem could be, and it was just turn off your other programs, I guess. But thank you very much to the couple people in the comments that did point that out, and yes, the Doom problem is fixed. Number 5, why doesn't this have an Ethernet jack? Well, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a Razer engineer. What I would postulate is that they wanted to maintain the thickness of the sides, the thickness of the main chassis, and in fact, if you just look at the thickness here, it's not actually thick enough to accommodate an Ethernet jack. They would need to make it, I don't know, a couple millimeter or 2 or 3 taller. And I think they were very focused on keeping the moniker that all the sales materials have on this, which is the world's thinnest 15-inch gaming laptop. And I think putting an Ethernet jack in here might have taken away their ability to say that truthfully. And I don't think it was a huge priority for them anyway. My 2016 blade didn't have one either. And I've had, I mean, I do most of my work on Wi-Fi anyway, so it hasn't really bothered me, but I definitely understand maybe going to a hotel wanting to plug in or something along those lines. So yeah, I don't know why it doesn't have one, and I know that's kind of a deal breaker. The Aero 15, again, that I just reviewed, does have one, and it's only slightly thicker than this. So maybe that's a compromise that would have been good for some people. It also has, that laptop also has an SD card reader, which is something I think this definitely should have. But, you know, I guess you can't have everything? I don't know. But yeah, I don't know about the Ethernet jack, but it doesn't really bother me that it's not there. Number 6, is there any backlight bleed or coil whine? So this is an IPS panel. IPS panels are known for having edge bleed, and this does have a little bit. It's right along this edge right here, the right edge. You probably can't even, I'm gonna try to get it on camera. I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see it, but yeah, there's a tiny bit right here. There was somebody in the comments who said I could see all the backlight bleed along the bottom edge, and that's just the wallpaper. That's how the wallpaper looks. But I mean, you can see I have this thing since day one with basically an all black background. So if there was a lot of bleed, I would notice it, and it would probably bother me, but there's not. And it's just a tiny bit right here, and that's it. So I hardly even really see it unless I'm specifically looking for it. As far as coil whine goes, I haven't noticed any at all in any tasks or games or whatever. No, I have not heard any coil whine. Number 7, is it as loud as last year's blade? How are the fans at idle? Well, the fans are at idle right now, and I can't hear them, so I doubt that you can hear them. When you're just doing normal everyday tasks, browsing around on Chrome, editing a shopping list, I don't know, what else do people do? Excel, sure. You're not going to hear the fans at all. When you do get into something that really causes them to ramp up, yeah, you hear them. But that's kind of why I did the sound meter testing in the original review video. They're about as loud as the 2016-2017 Blades fans, which means they're not particularly quiet. So if that's something that bothers you, then maybe you need to look at something with a better cooling solution like the Aero 15. That laptop was a little quieter. But yeah, at normal everyday use, at idle, you don't hear them at all. Number 8, have you gotten used to the trackpad with no buttons? Yeah, for the most part. I have a couple of instances, I guess, where I've right-clicked when I meant to left-click, or the other way around, because there's no clear like demarcation between the left and right click. It's just kind of abstract. But for the most part, a lot of manufacturers are going to this configuration of a buttonless trackpad with a larger tracking surface, and I like it. I think that, you know, having that larger surface is actually is more functional. It's beneficial to the user. So I don't mind that they took the buttons away. I know there are some people who really want buttons, and I do like them. But overall, I've gotten used to them, and I've gotten used to this trackpad, and the surface itself and the tracking is amazing. So, you know, I'd much rather have this than an inferior tracking surface with buttons. That's for sure. And I've gotten used to it anyway, so not really a big deal. And I think that give it a couple days, maybe a week, and you'll be used to it too. Number 9, is this laptop good for productivity or video editing? Absolutely, and that's one of the reasons that I got it, is because I am going to be doing a lot of mobile video editing, and I mean, this is one of the best out there for that. It's got the 6-core processor and it's got a GTX 1070, so should rock and roll in Adobe Premiere. And I mean, I could game on it too, clearly. But I think that if your goal is solely a productivity machine or video editing or rendering machine, there are probably better options out there for you. You probably don't need a 1070 if you're not going to be gaming. So, and you know, this has like gamery features, right? It's got RGB vomit on it, and a 144 hertz screen and whatever else. So you could definitely get a similar configuration that is similarly powerful for those productivity based tasks without paying what I paid for this, which was like 2,600 bucks. So yes, it's excellent for those tasks, and I will be using it for video editing quite a bit. But if you only need video editing, maybe look elsewhere. But if you do some gaming, then this might be for you, because this thing is awesome. And the last one is just kind of a generic catch-all question or statement. Let us know if you found any issues. I did find one, and it actually bothered me quite a bit. So as we talked about briefly before, the only way to connect this to the internet is via Wi-Fi. And after maybe having this for a week or so, my Wi-Fi connection got really, let's call it weird. I have a pretty fast connection in my house, and after, you know, rebooting this or waking it up from sleep or whatever else, I get the full speed, full download speed via Wi-Fi. After maybe 45 minutes of use or something, the Wi-Fi speed would go from 250 down to 0.1 down. Like, it would just fall off a cliff and basically be unusable. The first time this happened, I thought that something had happened to like my router or, you know, or the modem or whatever. And that I checked everything and everything was fine. Every other device in the house was connected. It wasn't an issue. So I rebooted the machine. And again, everything was fine after I rebooted. But after, again, about 45 minutes, the same exact problem happened. And I was like, what's going on here? So I tried reinstalling the Wi-Fi drivers, and that didn't work. And what I discovered was when I have it connected to the 5 gigahertz band at my house, that happens. But when I have it connected to the 2.4 gigahertz band at my house, it doesn't happen. So right now this is on the 2.4 gigahertz band, and I'll probably just keep it that way. I am planning on reaching out to Razer about this and opening a support ticket or something, because I would like to know what exactly is going on here. Because, you know, if you have your laptop connected at 5 gigahertz and it just becomes unusable, that's a problem. So, but that's the only real issue that I've discovered, and I've been able to remedy it by just connecting to the 2.4 gigahertz band, which clearly on a machine this expensive you shouldn't have to do. But at the same time, it's a really easy workaround. I'd be curious to see if any of you guys out there have experienced this issue, because maybe it's more widespread, or perhaps it's just isolated to this machine. Because as I said in the beginning, I mean, it's a consumer electronics product. Things happen, bad units happen. So I don't know. I other than that, I haven't really had anything bad and any bad experiences at all. I've really enjoyed my time with it, and I'm going to really look forward to being able to use this as a mobile video editing workstation. But that's about it. That's all the questions that I could really answer right now. If you like this video, get subscribed, consider supporting on Patreon. Leave a comment down below. I mean, if I can answer some more questions, then I certainly will. But hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll check you in the next one.